Whoa! Look at this right there. That's the perfect dive.
That was absolutely cutting right there into the water.
What a noise, what a rip. What a maneuver.
Unbelievable. Ciao everyone and welcome to Puglia, the famous region in the heel of Italy's boot along the Adriatic Sea. Quite the magical place with breathtaking beaches, amazing food, and a laid-back lifestyle. No shortage of photographic landscapes here, and today from the town of Polignano a Mare, we are ready for the fifth stop of the 2021 Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series. Trace Worthington here alongside Joey Zuber. Great to be back in southern Italy where there's always an electric atmosphere with the fans, checking out cliff diving royalty. Joey, a classic stop on the World Series.
It is one of my favorites, and it's got to be a super unique location. I can't think of anywhere else that sets up a cliff diving platform on the private residence of a balcony. Look, definitely one of the favorites for the athletes. So the previous days, very nice, warm conditions, but as you can see from one day to the next, we've got incredibly choppy conditions. Gary Hunt walking his way through the town there and lapping up the atmosphere. But as you can see right there, very windy.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty challenging today for the divers. You see 23 degrees Celsius and 73 Fahrenheit there, and we have been all over the world. It's been a shorter season than normal. San Rafael, France kicked off the 2021 series. Stop 2 was an exhibition in Norway because of travel restrictions. Mostar, Bosnia and Herzegovina was stop 3. Then only 10 days ago, Downpatrick in Ireland hosted stop number 4. Today, Puglia is the first of the Italian doubleheader. Then on Sunday, September 26th, Polignano a Mare. Right here again, we'll put on the season finale where the King Mccauley Trophy will be hoisted high by the 2021 champions. Joey, speaking of hoisting high, how about the judges at the last stop in Ireland hoisting up that 10 scorecard all day long?
Whoa, a record-breaking competition. Molly Carlson was 9th after round 2, but what a comeback with the quad half. And took a 4th place in that competition. Xanthia Panisi, the wild card. This is her first ever podium, taking 3rd place right there. Jessica Mccauley just hasn't missed a beat. 2 3rd place finishes and a 2nd. And currently sitting 2nd in the World Series ranking. But how about this woman, Rhiannon Ifland, 11 straight wins. And also, look at this dive. The first woman in the world to have 5 straight 10s from the judges. Incredible. Gary Hunt, here we go. The superb Frenchman with a commanding lead, making sure he's getting some distance away from the Romanians, fending off the Romanian sharks. Speaking of which, that is Constantine Popovich from Romania taking 2nd place there, and also surpassing his Romanian counterpart, Catalin Preda, who's on the screen right there. So Constantine in 2nd, Catalin Preda, of course, won the first competition of the season in France. Slight miscalculation on the dive, but he's got a chance to claw back right here in Puglia, in Italy. Alessandro De Rose has been absolutely consistent this season, and with superb execution, what does he get? A 3rd place finish. Raw emotion from Alessandro.
And 10 was certainly a popular number in Ireland, which leads us to talking about 10 years of World Series history here in Italy. And there's a reason, Joey, why we call it the heart of European cliff diving.
Always lots of flavor and tradition in Italy, and here are some of the stand-up moments over the decade. Orlando Duque, one of the pioneers of the sport, taking 1st place in 2009. 2010, Gary Hunt. This has never been done before until this moment. A running takeoff. Incidentally, the world's hardest dive, taking a pretty strong landing there as well. A sport only for the brave. David Cultury, the youngest ever to win a competition. That was Malcesine in Italy, the northern part of the country.
And the women were introduced to Italy in 2015 for the first time, where USA's Rochelle Simpson took the victory. But one of the most memorable and epic moments was when Alessandro De Rose earned his first career Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series victory as a wild card in front of a roaring home country fan base.
Oh, absolute goosebump moments. And then Rhiannon Ifland showing how dominant she could be, winning in Italy 2017, 2018 and 2019. And look at these two powerhouses holding the King Cultury trophy high. And perhaps again here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The divers are getting ready. We are about to get started. But first, let's get you up to speed on how things work with Red Bull Cliff Diving. 8 women and 8 men are permanent divers in this 2021 season. 4 wildcard divers are added to every stop for a total of 24 athletes.
Okay, it's 4 rounds of diving, each of them being judged, and every dive counts. So it's only about 3 seconds to judge a diver's execution, and that includes the takeoff from the dive point, form and position in the air, and then of course trace, the third part, that critical water entry.
That'll be interesting today. The scoring is simple. 5 judges hold up a card with a score between 0 and 10, and the low scores are scratched. The remaining 3 multiplied by the DD, the degree of difficulty, equaling the total score. So clearly, Joey, the more flips and twists, the higher the DD.
That's right, you got to push the limits. At every World Series stop, 4 dives make up the final score, and points are awarded at each stop, then added together, which goes towards the World Series standings. And don't forget, the divers can discard their lowest competition result. So in other words, they can just throw away their worst place finish this season.
And well, because of the rough seas and wind, there will only be 3 rounds of diving. More on that later. But this means a couple of the usual suspects, Joey, are closer to winning that King Cultury and the entire series.
Yeah, you got it. So Gary Hunt and Rhiannon Ifland have a chance to secure the World Series title here in Puglia. So how it works is if she comes in the top 5, that's it. She's won the series. And if Gary wins here today, it's in the bag. But there's a few other situations as well. So if Gary comes in second place and if Costa doesn't win, it's also in the bag.
All right, you see Rhiannon Ifland leading right there, and more at stake for the divers, including points to qualify for permanent diver positions for this 2022 season. Only 3 rounds of diving today. 2 have already happened, Joey. Which women are in contention as they take a stroll through the beautiful, quaint village of Polignano, Mare?
Oh, I love it. Little stroll through, a little round of applause for everyone having a coffee at the shops over there.
There's Rhiannon right there on her way to winning another King Cultury trophy.
Yeah, Rhiannon Ifland with the triple half, 9s across the board. I don't think she's actually scored under 8s the entire season, so what a wonderful performance yet again. Superb takeoff, the form, the elegance, and what does she do so well? Right here, the rip entry. Nice and tall and proud. Wow. And then this is a really interesting location. Look at that, diving right off the balcony. One of my favorite dives, the flying front by Jessica Mccauley, hoping to have another podium finish right there. The rocky position for the judges as well. Beautiful shots there. So that's the simple, graceful maneuvers, the required dives that they need to show.
And only 3 rounds of diving today. Why is that? We defer to our Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series Sports Director, Greg Louganis. Greg, take it away.
Well, the decision for today, they're going to do 1 round. And so the divers are going to have to choose which optional dive that they're going to be doing, because they only have 1 shot. So it's going to be really a game of luck, really, because we've got the wind, we've got the swells coming in, so they've really got to pay attention to the swells as well. So it's going to be really challenging, and also the weather's supposed to get worse, so we're trying to consolidate into 1 round what we normally would do 2 rounds for. And since the weather is going to be getting worse, for the safety of the divers, we decided that they're just going to be doing 1 round to decide the winner.
So rough Adriatic Seas today here in Polignano, Mare for our Puglia stop. That platform right there, 20 meters off the water, 70 feet for the men. And it's crazy, Joey. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Olivier Morneau Ricard is here. Claudio Demiro of Italy, he's the head judge of 5. And Julian Linas of Spain, Olympic diver and Olympic judge. Marion Reif of Austria is here. And 3-time European champ Anka Piper made the trip from Germany. So a very experienced crew, as the wind has picked up 40 kilometers per hour and gusts up to 56 kilometers per hour. That's 25 to 35 miles per hour, Joey. I mean, wow. As a former diver, how do you handle this?
With difficulty, let me tell you that much. And like I said earlier in the show, from the previous days and then until today, you wake up in the morning and whoa, we've got big waves, high winds. it may be difficult to get off the platform, that's for sure.
Only 3 rounds of diving, so that third one counts pretty heavy as we look at Jackie Valente will kick things off. She has the lowest score after the first 2 rounds of diving, and there are your big 4 right there. Jessica Mccauley, we'll see Molly Carlson run number 10, and of course Rhiannon Ifland, our top competitor, who's looking for a sweep, her 12th career Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series victory on its way. She will dive last, and this is a pretty interesting way to warm up on the balcony of the Labate home.
That it is. Hey, look at great images here showing the camaraderie amongst all the athletes. There's a lot of respect amongst each other, so they all understand what it's like to stand on that platform. So 21 meters for the women, 27 meters for the men, 85 kilometers per hour. And if that is not daunting enough, you've got to deal with those waves. Look at the waves lapping in. Of course, you can see the wind blowing the people's hair. And when you're standing on the platform, it's very, very difficult to balance. And look at that. That's normally that walkway the athletes will be walking on. I dare say they'll be trying to swim into the beach this time.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, just even the visitors and tourists and locals standing along the side with railings getting pretty nervous, much less with no railings, no net, no harness, no parachute right here. We're about to get underway. Round 3, Jackie Valente will kick things off, the 35-year-old Brazilian in her 20th start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. She returns as a permanent diver. Her personal best was right here, Joey, a 2nd place in 2014.
Yep, so she's got a good track record here. And so now we're talking about degree of difficulty. This round is all about trying to perform as many somersaults and twists as possible. Back triple with 2 twists, currently the world's hardest dive. Stepping away from the platform.
I wonder why.
Obviously signs of the wind.
Yeah.
Just think about it. When you're standing on the platform, you've only got half your feet on the platform. And if you get a big gust of wind, so when it's steady wind, it's a lot easier. But when you have the big gusts, that can overbalance you. You can see her visualizing and concentrating and saying, okay, I need to reset. I still need to concentrate on what I need to do.
Kind of like a golfer pulling back from the drive because of all the people making noise in the background. Here we go, Jackie Valente, the 2nd attempt here after regrouping.
Jackie Valente throwing the dive down with everything she's got. But Trace, we can talk about something that happened at the end of the dive there. We just spotted something.
Jackie, back home in Brazil, helps her mother as a seamstress. Wants to try a little bit of skiing someday. I can help her with that. She wants to go skiing, Joey.
Yeah, you are. You are.
But this must be nerve-wracking, Joey. The first to go.
That it is. Kicking off the round here today. So as I mentioned, this is a backward takeoff. Watch how the arms will swing up. That generates rotation. You need to jump as strong as possible, wrapping the arms across like a gymnast. So she's got a great circus and gymnastic background. Incidentally, she can perform some incredible handstand dives. And watch here closely, you can see the legs having to bend. That's called a break of position. So that is a safety call. She obviously felt like she was running out of room, running out of rotation. So you bend the legs to make yourself smaller to pick up the speed. That is unfortunate, so there will be some deductions. However, considering the conditions,
I was just gonna say,
she did a fine job managing that. And obviously, a big gust came and she had to step back.
I mean, watch this. This could be more challenging than the dive itself. But they're going to try to get Jackie back in. She comes in with a 140.95. So remember, all 3 dives count in this 3-round competition, added together for that total score. So that will be it for her as we look at a beautiful shot of Polignano Mare and that beach right there where the athletes come into. Spectacular area for visitors and locals. Heading back to the top now of the platform. Pointed out, 21 meters, 70 feet off the Adriatic Sea. In her debut on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series here in Polignano Mare, here's Amy Harrison, the 27-year-old Canadian.
She's had a few issues. She was supposed to dive in Ireland, but had a ruptured eardrum in a diving incident. So sometimes you can land feet first and actually water can lap back into your ear and ruptured the eardrum, and then she had a few issues on the aeroplane, actually. So it ruptured again. So she's finally had a chance to let it settle. But she's got to get settled for this dive. Front triple half here.
Don't want to be diving, doing this sport. The ruptured eardrum. Look at that.
Absolutely nerve-wracking.
Here we go. Nice.
Oh, the Canadian.
Wow.
Yes. Managing the conditions so well. You can see them lapping up there. A little bit disorientated, perhaps. Where's left, where's right?
I mean, how do you can't even tell the timing. It's not like there's swells, Joey. I mean, there is just waves and swells mixed together. So a little bit of luck on that landing if you're going to get 3 or 4 feet of difference.
Yeah, perhaps it looked like the waves just parted in time for her. And you can see that coming out there. The eyes honing in, making sure they keep their eyes on the water the whole time. It's a bit like ball playing sports. What does the coach tell you to do? You've got to keep your eye on the prize, and that is the ball. Right here, we're going to be looking for the water. So she feels that light sensation, that heavy sensation. There it is. That's the relieving moment. So she keeps her eyes on the water as long as possible. You bend at the waist, and you have to make just a really quick adjustment. But let me tell you, the last 2 meters, the last 3 meters, you think you got it, and then sometimes, bang, all of a sudden the water's right there.
Aiming for her master's degree in behavioral neuroscience, and claims it's to better understand how crazy the divers really are, including herself. And I tell you what, today she'll be doing a little studying on how it all works.
Yeah, after that dive, what am I
with
doing?
These conditions, 76.50 for Harrison. So rolling up and adding all three, 180.95. She'll move into the number 1 spot. 12 total divers on the women's side before we move into the men. That brings us to Mealy Carpenter, the 33-year-old from the United States. Got a last-minute invite to the last stop in Ireland. She booked a flight, arrived just a couple days prior to the start of the event. Impressively placed 7th.
Yep, she did very well. Actually, she had a phone call on a Wednesday morning and then was on the plane 3 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, and then she's in a competition. But she's a very experienced athlete. She has been performing in shows all around the world. She was just in New York. She performed in the House of Dancing Water in Macau, as a matter of fact. So she's just taking her time, looking at the conditions.
Former NCAA Division I college coach and science teacher. 2012 finalist at the U.S. Olympic trials and 3-meter springboard diving. Taking her time, and some of these athletes who have not had the experience in Red Bull cliff diving makes sense. And there's Greg Louganis, the 4-time Olympic gold medal winner in diving, our Red Bull cliff diving World Series sports director, making sure things are safe and sound. That's his job here, is to really kind of understand the conditions.
Yeah, this is a particularly difficult location. In Ireland, you could predict the swells a little bit more because it's a big open ocean. This one is obviously the Adriatic. There's another body of water around there, but it's very difficult to predict. So it just seems to be very choppy, very soupy. She's just keeping her eye to the right. But sometimes you can pick a lull in the sets, and that's what she's perhaps looking for. As you would see the surfers, they would obviously look at sets of 6 or 8 waves, and then there's usually a bit of a lull. 52 kilometers per hour, there's the wind meter.
So the wind speed is now picked up. So that is not good news for the divers. And you know, when we'll see Rhiannon Ifland, who knows how to read the ocean well, coming up soon, and we know Gary Hunt, who's just performed in any type of condition. We'll see how they manage it. But some of the people with a little bit less experience on this series, I tell you what, the nerves are probably running pretty heavy, as Mealy Carpenter, the 33-year-old from the United States, taking her time on this.
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about with Molly Carlson as well. So she was accustomed to diving indoors in the High Diving Training Center. But of course, in there, you're not subject to wind and so forth. So when you come to these competitions, it's just a whole nother ball game. And this is obviously proving to be incredibly challenging for Mealy.
For those who just joined us, we are in the third round of diving. Normally 4 rounds, now brought back to 3 because of the wind and the conditions. So these 3 dives count instead of what normally is 4. And this, athlete Mealy Carpenter of the United States is third to go of 12 women. And we are in Polignano, Mare, Italy, and at our Puglia stop. Puglia, a southern region, forming the heel of Italy's boot. And the safety divers, I tell you what, it's more challenging than diving perhaps today as well.
Very difficult. So you have the waves actually sort of lapping into the cliff face, and they come back and push you around. So you'll actually see the scuba divers shifting left and right. So you have to be really, really careful. It's actually quite exhausting because you have to constantly be kicking in and out and making sure that you're in a safe distance from the athletes as well. But here we go. She's going to give it a try.
It's like not taking a break during a water polo event. Here we go.
Very, very difficult dive.
Keep in mind, 70 feet off the water, 21 meters, and you have your toes hanging over the platform. That's what we're up against here when watching these divers. Oh, wow.
And off she goes.
Way to get the composure. Way to dial in the composure.
Oh, I'm actually relieved seeing the dive after that.
Me
Imagine
too.
how she feels. But good on her. Well done. She had a little trick there. She had 1 foot half on the platform, then just quickly put her other foot back there and then took off. And
That's not normal?
No. No, normally you get both feet set on there, so she just left 1 foot, then put the other one back. But here's the dive, the back triple, somersault with 2 twists. Again, to reiterate, this is currently the world's most difficult dive the women are performing. She's bending the legs, got to bend the legs, an extension off the platform, wrapping into it. She's a very, very, very strong athlete, also does a lot of rock climbing as well. Digging deep into the pike somersaults, coming around, seeing the water. And you've got massive G-forces. Incidentally, Trace, this is basically the equivalent of about a 6th story of a high-rise, 7th story of a high-rise. So imagine what that feels like to look down and then into those choppy Adriatic waves.
Only 3 other women in this field of 12 have that same degree of difficulty. 83 on that dive, rolls up to a 193.35. So Mealy Carpenter now in the #1 spot. She's the third to go of 12 as we head back to the top of the platform. And she tries to catch her breath there for Iris Schmidbauer, now permanent diver on the World Series. A 26-year-old from Germany. She finished the 2019 season ranked #8 in World Series points. And this is only her 13th career appearance on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Maybe she'll go a little bit quicker. Oh,
wow, you could just see the wave just sweeping across the entry zone there. And you just don't know what's going to happen. When you stand backwards, that's it. You're at the mercy of Mother Nature there.
That's just luck at that point.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll, like we said before, you'll see the waves almost part and the divers will land between the waves. That's a lot easier to rip the entry there. But obviously, sometimes when you get on that platform, it's just best to get off and go as soon as you can. So to settle down the nerves. And she's done a much better job with this dive. In the past, she had a few little issues with rotation.
Oh, it wasn't bad.
No, she did a good job. But again, the last part of the dive, making those calculations, to reiterate, very, very challenging. There's the twist. Incidentally, she almost podiumed when she was in Beirut in 2019, and now she held on right to the last moment there just to make sure she could keep the speed going. And the judges are looking for the takeoff, the flight, and the entry. So just a slight roll over there, but it just shows you that if you're just slightly off, that it does kick up a splash, and we'll touch on that in methods of motion later in the show.
So 5 judges, the high and the lower toss. The remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. A 70 on that, adding the first 2 rounds of diving. Schmidbauer with 184.15. So Mealy Carpenter of the United States at 193.35 is the score to beat here in the women's 3rd round. 3rd and final round, I should say. Those familiar with cliff diving, usually 4 rounds of diving. Not today. And what a shot of Polignano Mare, the historic center, well preserved. alleyways winding among the typical white houses and small courtyards. Joey loves the food here.
I do.
You always love the food here. You always love food everywhere,
Yeah,
though.
I do. Well, you can't beat Italy. Come on.
No, you can't beat
You
it.
can't.
You can't beat it. You're absolutely right. Xanthia Panisi, she likes the food here in Polignano, Mare, Italy. The wild card diver with her first podium of her career. That happened 10 days ago in Ireland. That was impressive. So that result lifted her to 4th overall in the series points. So she's going to be wrangling a little bit with Ellie Smart now. I mean, this really comes down. This final dive in the 3rd round is going to be really important, even though we have one stop left, which is this upcoming Sunday.
That's right. We're all set. Back triple full. Xanthia Panisi staying poised, staying focused and controlled. And then obviously landing a little bit short of vertical. We've got to get into diving terminology here, leaving that chest forward a little bit, and it does hurt a little bit.
You know,
usually when you have a good landing.
Right. Usually you and I are talking and comparing things to traditional indoor diving, like you saw at the Olympics in Tokyo. Whoa.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So obviously a sign that was a big gust of wind, but she regained composure, so I really commended her for that. Okay, there's the triple. Let's have a look around here. And of course, they have to land feet first in this sport, in the sport of Olympic diving. They're landing head first. How high is the Olympic high board? That is 10 meters. How high is this platform? That is 21 meters.
Yeah.
So it is far too high to go head first from those heights and those speeds.
And no calm water, no calm pool to land in here.
But let me talk about Xanthia. What I really like about her is her form. Super graceful, super elegant. Perhaps, maybe she got a little bit unlucky once again. You have to remember, if the wave comes up, it lowers the height of the platform. So you may come around and think, oh yeah, I've got it. The wave comes up, and then you say, maybe I don't. So this is really one of those competitions you need a little bit of luck your way.
Makes total sense. 173.30 when you add all 3 rounds together. So she will not see the podium today, as Mealy Carpenter in the lead with a 193.35 and Schmidbauer in second with 184. A lot of top divers coming up, as Panisi was 5 to go of 12. Kunevitska of Ukraine just goes quickly there, Joey, the 26-year-old in her debut. She wasted no time.
No, absolutely not. Off the platform, that's the best way to do it. Actually, Dmitry Soutin, the legendary Russian diver, he's always like, Joey, don't think, you better go.
It took me longer to say her last name.
Yes, not an easy one indeed. So what she comes from is a trampolining background, obviously feeling a little chilly up there, looking there saying, oh, I feel a bit scared, should I do it? But she did. I
gotta ask you this. She is a 2-time junior world champion in trampoline.
Yeah.
Right? And Rhiannon Ifland has a background in trampoline. Really a sport that requires feet first.
Exactly. So particularly the last part of the dive, let's explain this here. So as she comes around, fortunate bit of a mistake there, bending the legs, but that is called a Brani, a front somersault with a half twist. The half twist, what does it do? It allows you to see the water until the very end. So that is a common skill in trampolining. So with a little bit more work on the takeoff, that's what Rhiannon had, that elite background in trampolining and diving. So a little bit more practice with that. She's going to be a great, great cliff diver.
She likes to skydive, snowboard. You throw in cliff diving, she clearly qualifies to be called an official adrenaline junkie. She's kind of our new adrenaline junkie.
That she is, and also a computer programmer, you know. So,
what?
Yeah, it covers all the territory.
What? Well, hopefully she's a professional swimmer. All right. So here are the judges. Low scores and low marks on that.
That's because of the breaker position, that bending of the legs at the end. So got to show form.
But again, kind of that safety you're talking about, Joey. It's, you know, rather break the form and land on your feet than try to hold the form and come in on your stomach.
Yeah, and let's also remember it's her first appearance as well. So this experience is all about gaining experience. But what a first competition to have. Not an easy one.
Good job by Anna Bakunevitska, the wildcard diver of Ukraine.
It's actually a very rocky beach, and it's not sand, so it's quite difficult to get out of the water.
wait on her score as we go back to the top. Ellie Smart goes. Boom! Oh, a little unfortunate.
Yeah,
this is a matter of luck, I think, Joey, like you keep talking about. I mean, really clean dives, but when you hit that water, it just seems like, what's the water going to do for you?
But showing us the twisting moves, nice and smooth, let me tell you. But sometimes, actually, to be honest, you can even be absolutely straight up and down, and then all of a sudden, kaploof. You know, you get those waves sort of lapping against your body. So he scores, what, 2 7.5s and a 7?
Yeah.
There for Ellie Smart. But under these conditions, you still need to be happy with that, to be honest.
She moves into the lead with a total of 205.70. She was 5th in Mostar and 5th in Ireland. 5th overall in the points right coming into today. So she's going to have to get busy here in this competition, as well as our final stop on Sunday, 4 days from now, if she wants to earn that 2022 permanent diver position.
That's right, today's competition and also the one in Polignano on Mare. So she's been running that high diving training camp in Utah, setting up the tower, the base of an aerial skiing ramp, helping out the athletes around the world, get some valuable training in before the season. And the twisting ability is great. So it's nice to see the variation between the athletes. Some divers prefer rotating dives, some divers prefer the twisting dives. So it comes down to personal preference and what you feel comfortable with on a 21-meter platform.
So Ellie Smart running. That is a feat in itself right there. So Ellie Smart leads with 205.70.
So Orlando Duque, a little bit of mentoring with all the athletes.
We're going back 148.60.
There's her husband supporting her at the first competition. Bit of a wave to mum back home.
All right, there's Orlando Duque. Cliff diving ambassador, total legend, retired after the 2019 season. Check out his podcast, is great, by the way. Maria Paula Quintero earned a permanent diver spot for this season from Colombia, the youngest diver here today, male or female, at 21 years old.
The youngest over the field, but the word brilliant comes to mind under those conditions. And hey-ho, there she goes down into the Adriatic Ocean.
As you teach me more about diving, I tell you what, when she broke out of that, she was just hanging that thing out to dry, just slowing it down. What incredible control.
That she did. So, well spotted there, Trace. Hey, you've learned a couple of things, like you said. You've been listening.
I actually listened to you.
I like that. Respect. Right there. But look at the raw emotion from Maria Paula Quintero from Colombia. 1 somersault, 2 somersaults, kicking out, and right there, stretching, and holding on. That's a great job. She understood that she was quite fast. So there's a lot of adjustments that you need to make. So you can see her just backing away from the platform slightly. But what I did see here is that she comes out maybe a tiny bit too late. You're upside down there. And then right there, she's like, okay, I'm a little bit fast. The arms come above the head a little bit for a little bit of air braking, but well recognized, well adjusted, and a superb entry and a fist pump. Maria Paula Quintero, nice work.
Very nice work. She'll navigate. What do we call that? The snake dock? Let's give it a name.
It's snake walking, rolling, balancing.
It's like the cobra dock. It's the cobra dock. The cobra walk. It's the Cobra Catwalk. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We just need Celia here. She can do the worm.
Look at it's chasing her.
Yeah.
Maria Paula Quintero. So she comes in with a 218.70, moves into the lead. The weather is cooperating now with our event, Joey, as you look at the 24 kilometers per hour wind speed. So that's getting a little bit better. We'll see if it hangs in there. It's definitely warming up outside. We go back to the top. Jessica Mccauley, what an impressive diver this year. So consistent, Joey.
She would normally do this dive in the 4th and final last round, but she's putting a highest degree of difficulty in there. triple pike
Wow.
is done. Oh, so well. That was absolutely superb by Jessica Mccauley. Whoa.
Currently in second, in the overall World Series, and she still has a shot, depending on how Rhiannon Ifland does, to win that King Mccauley trophy. She's had such a consistent year. Incredible.
That is exactly what you need to do to stay in the fight. I love her lines in the dive. So diving is all about aesthetics. It should be nice and smooth. It should be fluid. Look at the height, the elevation from the platform. Toes pointed, yes. Head coming back, spotting the water for the second time. She's like, okay, I got it. Head coming back, that is where you start feeling relieved. Stretching the body out, a little bend at the waist, lifting up, slicing and dicing. Ladies and gents, a rip entry, disappearing into the Adriatic Seas. Another fist pump. God, that feeling after the dive when you've nailed it like that. Huge scores, 4 9s.
Wow. So you toss out the high and the low, so she'll keep a bunch of 9s and multiply that by a 4.0 degree of difficulty. 108, that is a massive score. Judges loved it. Easily pulls into the lead with 250.30 as her total score. And normally where she's qualified a little bit higher in the competition, Joey, she's running number 9, which means there are 3 women ahead of her in points. But we'll see if that hangs in there as Mccauley's in the lead, Quintero in second, Ellie Smart with a 205.70 on the podium. For now, 3 divers left to go in Molly Carlson, Yana Natsirava, and Rhiannon Ifland. So here is Molly, the wild card diver. Her 23rd birthday is tomorrow on the 23rd. What's she have?
Now she's really, well, Jessica Mccauley's really put a lot of pressure on her Canadian counterpart. So Molly Carlson, if she wanted to take the lead right now, got to score straight 9.5s across the board.
Or roll it up to a 105.30 on this dive. Molly Carlson.
Hard dive to keep the balance in the wind. Inward triple half.
And the Canadian rookie wildcard diver drilling it into the Adriatic. That is how you get it done, Joey Zuber.
And you can hear the sound as well, that clapping, the feet going flat, tearing its way through the water, making the hole. And sometimes when you do the dive, you know you've done a good one. Can't wait to see the replay. Molly Carlson had a great start to the season, second place. Watch this, throwing in towards the platform. You have to come really close towards it. She's got a good natural briny and a natural entry. That is a disappearing act. Look at this, throwing forward like you're throwing the soccer ball to generate the rotation. Light, heavy sensation coming around. Good aerial awareness, great form. The acceleration curve picks up. And without the windy conditions, you can feel the wind at that point. Ever so slightly short of vertical, but we will see some wonderful scores for Molly Carlson. That's what she needed to boost up the confidence.
In her 4th ever World Series appearance, currently 3rd in the series points, and that might hold with those big scores. She'll throw out an 8 and a 9 and keep 3 of them. And you multiply that by the degree of difficulty, comes into the 102.60, not enough to overtake the lead. She needed a 105 plus for that. So 247.60 moving into second. What a solid score. An incredible diver in her first season on the World Series. Molly Carlson now in second. Mccauley leads. Conditions getting slightly better, as you can tell out there, but I'm sure that doesn't calm the nerves down any, as you can see the balcony that the athletes warm up on, including Rhiannon Ifland coming up in 2. The balcony of a private home, the Labate family welcoming the Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series, and the athletes, they have a lot of fun having the world's best. So Yana Natsirava placed 3rd at 3 different years here, or the 3 years that she's actually competed here, she was 3rd every single time. So obviously she likes it here in Puglia and Polignano Mare.
Very, very tough athlete mentally. How will she fare? Wind picking up.
Wow.
She'll need some big scores to get ahead of Mccauley.
Just see the wind blowing her arms around a little bit as she holds them high.
Yana Nestriava, always confident, always consistent. But just a slight over-rotation at the end of the dive. But ultimately, it comes down to the judges. They've got to look at it from the side angle. Again, all parts fairly and equally, the takeoff, the flight, the entry. But I just like how confident she is at all the competitions. As I said before, incredibly mentally strong. Thumbs up to the sports director, making sure she's ready to dive and all the judges are ready to see. Coming around here, that last moment of the dive, normally you would see very clear, transparent water. You can see the line through there. Watch how the arms will throw here forwards. You need to do this with absolute maximum power to generate that rotation. This is where the abdominal strength comes into play, squeezing it in. I'd like to see her a little tighter in the pike position. You can see they're laying it out, just slightly rounded through the water, but you only need to be slightly off to kick up a bit of splash, but still, I would say, very well executed.
I love the fact that her first water sport was synchronized swimming at the age of 5. So she'll know how to swim back to the worm dock, 78 on that final dive. So she moves into third with 225.40. So Molly Carlson still hangs in there in second place with that 247, but Mccauley with that 253.0 guaranteed a podium. So it looks like Jessica Mccauley in the lead will be guaranteed a spot on the podium along with Molly Carlson, or excuse me, Molly Carlson, with one diver left to go, and that's Rhiannon Ifland. So this is for the championship, as Joey mentioned earlier at the top of the show. All she needs is a top 5 finish. So really just needs to complete the trick, the dive, get it into the water. She's got the heart rate monitor there. The athletes are kind of checking that out this season to see what that heart rate is before they dive. The interesting data for us down the road, Joey, to talk about that. What's she going to be doing here on the final dive?
Okay, she's throwing it all out now. She's going to push the limits. Back triple somersault with 2 twists. Okay, she's very experienced, good at reading the waves. She'll take her time until she's ready.
Going for 12 straight wins across 3 seasons. That is a record. And her winning streak began here in Polignano, Mare during the 2018 final.
Okay.
Oh. Now you know it's windy when Rhiannon Ifland pulls back and takes a pause, because she's
tough.
She's a trooper.
No, we saw many athletes taking their time. There's nothing wrong with that. As we said before, if a big gust comes, especially when you're standing backwards.
Well, the safety divers in the water, Joey, I mean, they usually splashing water, but not the case today. There's plenty of whitewash there. Molly Carlson just needs a top 5 finish.
That's all she needs, that's right. Okay, despite a slightly heavy landing, but what a true champion. So even with the very best divers, you still need a little bit of luck on your side to try and hit the entry, but I dare say she may have taken the World Series win here today.
Now keep in mind, 4 days from now, back here at the same place, our grand finale at the same time. They'll be diving, in the presentation of the King Kahekili Trophy will go down at that stop and making things official. But do you think this will do it for her in the top 5? It should.
I do, yeah. If you look at how good the takeoff is, if you look at her form in the air, watch how she really pushes through, the legs extend. She did a lot of pre-season training with Jeff Arvin and 80 Hinchliff, the head coaches back in Brisbane, Australia. And if I actually look at the line, she's pretty much there. And I just think it was just a matter of those waves just lapping against the body. Good extension from the platform, so she gave herself plenty of height and room to finish the dive. So the takeoff has to be right. The takeoff is so important in the sport of cliff diving. If you're just like 20 to 30 centimeters less than, let's say, another athlete, that can mean the difference between having to bend your legs or keep yourself straight. But Rhiannon Ifland managing the conditions well. Jessica Mccauley eagerly awaiting her results.
I can tell you, Rhiannon Ifland, she can call the carpenter back in Australia and add a little more space to her trophy case.
That's right.
Because she, with those scores, has just won another King Mccauley trophy. She's wrapped up the season with that 92.45. And coming in with a grand total of 252.75, she wins 12 straight over 3 different seasons and another King Mccauley trophy to be celebrated at the event this Sunday when we return to Polignano Mare for the grand finale. Rhiannon Ifland wins it here in Puglia.
Xanthi Panisi, fellow Australian, giving her a big supporting hug. They spent a lot of time travelling together, training together in Brisbane and travelling around the world, so they're extremely happy for each other. So Rhiannon was so helpful with Xanthi as well. I do believe that played a big call on her getting that 3rd place finish in Ireland there. Oh look, she's got a hair stuck in Rhiannon's ear there. But it's very rare that you see an athlete in any sport that can perform so well, so consistently over so many seasons.
So Rhiannon Ifland kind of squeaks it out. Jessica Mccauley, only a couple points difference between the top 2. But Molly Carlson, the wildcard diver rookie this season. Canadians 2 and 3. Great job there, and you can see rounding out the top 12, Jackie Valente with her 140.95. But an outstanding women's competition here in Puglia and the site of Polignano Mare. For the women's competition, normally 4 rounds of diving turned into 3 because of the wind. And Rhiannon Ifland takes advantage of it and wins another King Mccauley trophy with this performance and stop number 12. Let's head down to the hot spot, the beach, with David O'Queeve, and he is with Rhiannon Ifland. Dave.
Another win, this one spreading the victories. How tough was it today?
Look, that was very, very nerve-wracking standing up there on the platform in those conditions. I chose to go for my biggest DD dive, so yeah, I kind of wanted to put myself through the pressure, so I'm super stoked. Yesterday was a good day and I started off strong, so I wanted to just come in here today and give it my all.
And we saw you step back from the platform. Was there a lot of emotions knowing that also this dive wasn't just about winning today, but the entire series?
Yeah, you know what? I think it definitely was. I put a little bit of pressure on myself because that was in my mind. But, I think the main thing why I stepped back was because the wind was just gusting and, the waves are coming in pretty strong underneath the platform, and then you have to kind of think about the dive as well. So I just wanted to make sure that I had a clear mind before I took off.
Thank you so much. Congrats, Rhi.
And a clear mind that she had on that particular dive, and I think she wanted to take the pressure off herself coming into the 6th stop in Polignano Mare as well. That's the way that you want to do it. But here's how she performed. First dive, first round. God, just
look at the
disappears
conditions.
every time. Yeah, look
at the conditions.
Yes,
difference.
That's what we're talking about. No, well, I wouldn't say completely flat water.
Right.
But idyllic positions in the air, graceful, smooth. And those divers, like Rhiannon, everything just looks smooth and easy. I love this one. Straight off the balcony. Beautiful. That's round 2. And in the sport of cliff diving, we sometimes dive directly from the rock face or people's balconies, as a matter of fact. And what a balcony dive. You should have seen all the locals just piling around.
Would you like a coffee or a tea with your dive?
Exactly. But this is the dive that sealed the deal. The win here in Puglia, and also the King Mccauley trophy for Rhiannon Ifland. What a relieving moment. She can come into that last stop feeling nice and comfortable and just enjoy the experience. But I'm sure she enjoyed today still. Very relieved.
And everybody's looking forward to celebrating that King Mccauley trophy presentation. That will go down on Sunday back here in Polignano Mare live. Molly Carlson, impressive finish today. And Jessica Mccauley, Mrs. Consistent this year, but just couldn't squeak by Rhiannon Ifland, but she definitely put the pressure on her today. It was only a 2-point difference.
And that was nothing. We're just talking about 1.5 point from a judge, and then Jessica Mccauley could have won today. So that just tells you how well Jessica Mccauley has been performing this season. Also, Molly Carlson in 3rd must be very relieved. She had a great start to the season, then a few slip-ups. Obviously, in Bosnia, didn't quite make the podium in Ireland, but did here. But looking at this woman, Rhiannon Ifland, So how many straight wins have we got now? It's 12.
12 straight wins over 3 seasons. So obviously, extremely impressive for Rhiannon Ifland. I mean, and she has won now 22 World Series events of this 28th event. Since her victory as a wild card diver back in 2016, you know what I mean? And we've seen this before, and you cannot break records without breaking fear first, and she did that today.
That she did. She braved the conditions. And also watch out for her next season. I think she may do a new dive, perhaps an inward quad somersault, so stepping up the degree of difficulty. Well, she wants to put the pressure on everyone else. She knows there's some, up-and-comers, Molly Carlson, Jessica Mccauley. Yeah. Almost beat Rhiannon today. What a competition.
Like any sport, you have, the veterans and the experts and the pros, the dominant ones, always pushing for progression. So you have Rhiannon Ifland with the overall points at 800. Remember, each diver gets a scratch as well, but even with her scratch, she loses a perfect win, 200-point win as her scratch for the season. So Mccauley, Carlson, and Smart, remember, 4 women will be invited to next year based on Sunday's results after the World Series points are revealed. And you have the bottom 16 right there. Great women's competition here in Puglia. So one of the biggest questions we get from the viewers is regarding the divers landing or entry into the water. So Joey, can you break it down in your methods of motion feature this time around?
Trace, I would be happy to.
Thank you.
So methods of motion, and shortly we're going to see Gary Hunt. So this is an inward triple half. Fine example of a perfect entry here. So watch this, how he lifts his chest, gets to that perfect straight line, keeping everything streamlined. The arms are tucked in. It's got to be like a car. It's got to be aerodynamic or water dynamic in this case. Underneath the water here, you can also see he holds the line straight down. He doesn't scoop forwards or backwards. That's really important to impress the judges, also to bring down the splash. We've got a fine athlete here, Constantine Popovich. He's an Olympian. And this is an example of just how just the slightest angle off, he stays a little bit rounder there, and you can see the water bubble line scooping forward. So that's a common mistake. The divers say, I put my feet in front. So Gary did that in training actually. Underneath the water, watch here, scooping, you see that line. So the feet come forward and that starts kicking up splash. It's very important to hold that line, but that just shows you that that can be the difference between, let's say, about 10 to 15 points. Of course, that can make the difference between a first or a second.
Great methods of motion, Joey. You nailed it. Gary Hunt leads the way coming into this Puglia stop. Constantine Popovich close behind in second. So it is not over for the men in the overall series in the King Kahakili Trophy, as Catalin Peretta did a great job winning the first stop of the season, is in third right now. Alessandro Rose, he's in fourth in the overall points. We will not see him diving today. Has a slight injury yesterday, so unfortunately we won't see the Italian who won here in 2017. And like the women, the men had 3 rounds of diving earlier, Joey. So let's take a look at how things went down before the next round.
Okay, intermediate dive, round 1. How about that? 9s across the board. Incidentally, that was the same dive we just watched in methods of motion.
And by the way, 2 rounds earlier. I said 3. So these are the 2 earlier rounds.
Yep, 2 earlier rounds. So you can see him throwing off there. I mean, he's just his form. He's just impeccable. He always looks focused. He always looks in control. And that is an idyllic dive. I mean, almost close to a 10, to be honest. And how about that? Off the roof of the private residence. David Cultury sitting in second place after that. So that's relieving. He's had good performances in Italy in the past. So he won in 2013, so 8.5s across the board from the judges. Look at that, making sure he gets enough distance away from the balcony to stay safe.
Cool shot.
Look at that angle. Superb stuff.
So Dorose, here's the starting list. He is a DNS, will not dive. We'll probably see him on Sunday when you tune back in for the grand finale. Blake Aldridge will go second. You can see running 8 is Aiden Heslop. He's doing a nice job, the young Brit. And so, again, that is the running order. Owen Weymouth back in the mix. And you see Constantine Popovich, the big 4. And then Nikita Fedotov, David Colturi. And then, of course, Gary Hunt, no surprise, just like Rhiannon Ifland, will dive last here in this men's competition. Getting it started, we'll see how they manage these conditions. Without seeing Alessandro De Rose, that means Blake Aldridge will kick it off, the 39-year-old Brit, 6-time competing in Polignano Mare. I just love the fact that he competed in the Beijing Summer Olympics, and his synchro partner was Tom Daly. They placed 8th way back then. Tom Daly then catapulted forward, stuck with it. What a strong competitor, winning gold in Tokyo just a couple months back. So Blake Aldridge, what's he going to be doing? Arm stand. This we haven't seen yet, and this might be difficult with the wind.
Okay, can you imagine he's going to do a press up handstand backwards. Very, very big dive here. Huge DD.
Whoa. The wind and the gusts and managing a handstand 70 feet off the Adriatic. Blake Aldridge.
The waves just
Unreal.
smashing into him when he hit the water there. Okay, A-OK sign, but hey, Trace, actually this is the hardest dive that we're seeing currently in this particular competition. Holy smokes. Okay, I actually haven't seen him do that dive for a very, very, very long time. I'm pretty impressed to see that he's thrown that down. So he played it safe early in the season. There's a steady handstand, wrapping it into it. He does 3.5 twists here, coming around, and that Barani gives him 4 twists in total. Oh my, oh my. How are the conditions? The legs pulling apart there. You've got to squeeze the legs together, the groin muscles. A lot of centrifugal force. At that moment, the legs want to pull apart. You see his toes lapped over one another. A little trick to stop the legs pulling. But he needed to square his arms out wide to stop the twist there. He just put his arms down too early and over-twisted on the bottom. Thrilling, enthralling action from 27 meters, so 85 kilometers per hour. You see that big over-twist at the end of the dive. So when you stop a twist, it's really important the arms come out. Big wide check, that stops the twist. So he just forgot to do that, but it's been a while since he's done the dive. Remarkable.
Aldridge, just a reminder, 5 judges between 0 and 10. The high and the lower toss, there's 5 judges. The remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So Aldridge with a 186.90 after you add all 3 dives together. And a reminder, normally 4 rounds of diving have now turned to 3. So because of the wind and obviously the current and waves coming in. So now we look at Andy Jones, the 36-year-old American from Santa Monica, California.
Oh, the American demonstrating his experience and confidence with that. Wow.
And again, you were with the women, we were talking about just a little bit, obviously it's some really good experience, but just a little bit of luck with these waves and swells at this point.
That's right. Moses parted the swells and allowed for him to have a nice, clean entry. We call them rip entries. It sounds like you're tearing a cloth. So you always see the divers just going, whoa, and reacting when you see those supreme entries. Now he's going to be looking at the judges' scores, but I dare say he would have known that was a good dive. 2.5 twists coming around into that entry. So around about 10 G-forces when you hit the water. You're stopping at around about 4 meters underneath the water. So the takeoff, you can see the legs starting to pull apart there. He just grabs his toes, once again lapping over one another. And because of his experience working in Cirque du Soleil, I mean, God, he's a talented athlete.
Yeah, he is a talented athlete.
Everything from aerial skiing to a stunt performer. Could have been a pro baseball player.
Yeah, he's pretty psyched about the stunts. I mean, we had dinner with him the other night, and he was talking to us about how he's really getting a lot of jobs in LA and a lot of different stunts on some really popular movies. And I don't want to run down the list right now, but trust me, you see him.
Yeah, he's even not allowed to talk
him.
about it. Secret stuff, secret movies.
See, he's pretty talented. He's a skier, baseball player, all that stuff. He's the worm walk is no problem. Is the worm walk okay for me to say? 246.90 is what Jones gets when you roll up all 3. A great shot of Polignano, Mare, Italy. We are at the kind of the heel, the Achilles heel of the Italian boot along the Adriatic Sea in Puglia, southern region. That is absolutely beautiful with an 800-kilometer, 500-mile coastline. Steve Lobu, he's working on his running takeoff, but this is the second to the last stop of his Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series career.
So ladies and gents, see if you can count how many somersaults he'll perform here. You can see him marking out the run. So he started backwards and ran, so he made sure he had the exact distance marked out.
So 5, he's doing 5.
He's 5. Let's count it.
5.
Not 4,
5.
but 5. Taking a moment, taking a breather.
God, listen to the waves.
Roaring. Oh, Steve Lebeau giving it everything he's got.
Who cares about the splash?
Making me dizzy just watching that particular dive, but I dare say he did take a bit of a shot. That would have hurt. So sometimes what happens is when you land short of vertical, it knocks the wind out of you. It's literally like being punched by a heavyweight. As you can see, the scuba diver's just holding on to him just while he gets his breath back. So he seems okay. Just had that short moment where he couldn't breathe. And it's a really hard thing to do, that running takeoff. So sometimes you can miscalculate it and you might not get right to the end. So it looked like he's a bit short of the end of the platform. He was actually quite close as well. So he just ran out of rotation there. And I dare say, once again, maybe the wave came up, which lowers the height of the platform. Watch this. His arms come above the head. Yeah, he's quite far back from the platform. Watch this. Watch how close he is to the platform here. Watch. Whoa. Man, his toes may have even touched the platform right there, holding on. Because he was so far back from the platform, that meant he was pretty slow. In addition, he did come out very early in the dive. Yeah, that was a punch. Right in the sternum, right into the neck. So we've seen Steve Lebeau actually get 10s on this particular dive. Whoa, he was super close to the platform. Watch the come out. Yeah, he could have just held on a tiny bit longer, given that the takeoff wasn't the best. Oof, what a tough day at the office for Steve Lebeau.
Either way, join us on Sunday for Steve Lebeau's final stop of his career on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. It's definitely going to be a big celebration. Not the points he wanted on this one. Again, he'll regain composure. Whoa, he's a little wobbly there, but coming back on Sunday for his final stop. Look at Andy.
Always aware, huh? Aerial awareness even on the worm. Look.
All right, back to business.
Yep, here we go.
Constantine Popovich of Romania. One of the Romanian sharks, as Gary Hunt calls Popovich and Popovich, because they're always nipping at him in the results and the points. Winner of the 2021 World Series opener in San Rafael, France back in June.
Opting for the standing takeoff instead of the handstand. Big dive.
Oh!
Now that is what you call a Romanian shark.
Wow.
We didn't even see him.
We didn't even see him.
That was stealth. My, oh my.
Unreal.
And that is exactly what he needed.
Yes.
Whoa. And he says, yes, I know I've done it and I did it right. Back quad somersault with 2 twists. He threw it all on the line with that particular dive.
And what's amazing to me, Joey, when you talk about the 3-second free fall, 85 kilometers per hour, 53 miles per hour is what he's traveling into the Adriatic. And to make that adjustment to come in that clean is absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, 2.8 seconds. That's all it comes down to. You've got to get so much right. Is the takeoff good? Yes, it is. God, he's so athletic. Squeezing into the pike position, coming around, opening early, which demonstrates how good his takeoff was, making that last adjustment, pulling his chest up. You can see a bit of a wave coming up. And I'm going to say this, he should score very, very well with that dive, and also the scores are added up and multiplied by the degree of difficulty, and it was high DD for Cat.
So you toss out an 8 and 8.5, you keep 3 of them, because that the high and the lower toss, that huge DD of 5.1, so 127.50 on that for the Romanian. So he moves into the lead over Andy Jones by a mile, 276.90. The fans out, kind of handling the wind today and enjoying the sunshine and the world's best here in Polignano Mare in our Puglia stop, the second to the last of this 2021 season. It's been a packed season in a short period of time, and this man, Owen Weymouth, has his first shot this season at a Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, only 22 years old. training in Utah. His girlfriend Ellie Smart on that tower you talked about earlier. He's been getting real good this summer.
Whoa! Owen Weymouth, the youngster with the inward quad half.
The fellow Brit loving it. Blake Aldridge and Ellie Smart, his girlfriend, is elated.
He's like, yeah, I got this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm cool, I'm calm. I knew I had it. You got to trust me.
Typical Owen looks up at Ellie and says,
yeah, did I do
all right?
No, he's been training very, very hard in Utah, like you said. So they set up that high diving tower. So he got plenty of practice in, and that practice paid dividends. Big round of applause for Blake Aldridge. Okay. Oh, these beautiful images here, throwing in towards the platform. You've got to feel this one, so that heavy sensation coming towards Earth there, light, and then heavy again for the second somersault, light, heavy again coming around, seeing the water. And when you're doing those inward dives, that last Pirani is a little bit more difficult. It feels very heavy because you're traveling backwards. But because he's trained so hard over the pre-season, he's come to this competition in great form with the inward quad half.
Some big scores up by the judges, all over 8. Bunch of 8.5s. And look at the styly run there by Owen Weymouth.
Pretty nimble.
On the worm dock.
Huh?
Pretty nimble. 261.80. So Owen Weymouth, the Brit, moves into second. Preda still in the lead with 276. Owen 6 to go of 12, so we're halfway through the men's competition. Normally 4 rounds of diving, those familiar to the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, has now turned into 3 because of the wind and the conditions. And here is Mikhail Navratil. And what's he going to try?
Okay, let's just make it more difficult for ourselves. Let's do the handstand. So back, arm stand, 2.5 somersaults with 3 twists. Let's remember Mikhail Navratil is incredibly experienced.
Now this is his 79th career start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Oh, look at that, 50 kilometers per hour is the wind right now. And coming right sort of at his back.
He had to come back down.
Now he's used to diving like on cruise ships and things like that, Joey. Does that help? I mean, in these situations, is he?
I think so, but it's the question is normally when you come down off a handstand, there's going to be an automatic 2-point deduction.
No failed dive, they're calling it, because
we have to have
obviously the wind and making.
It's just a 2-point deduction, I would say, or maybe they might not take it off. We'll see. Depends on the wind and the referee's call. We'll see how that fares after the dive.
They might give it. They might give it to him under the circumstances.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I dare say.
The wind has now gone down just since we put up that meter. Mikhail Navratil, the 36-year-old from the Czech Republic, absolutely drilling it into the Adriatic, Joey.
What a reset. What redemption after coming down off the handstand dive and to
super teal. Like that. Now we can really say super teal. That was a super teal. Super teal. That was beyond super teal. What's more than super teal?
Look at that reaction. He just can't believe it.
Unreal.
Supreme super teal.
So yeah, there you go. Okay, got it. What a dynamic diver, and to be able to do the arm stand, this will impress that panel of judges. Julian Linus, Olivier Morneau-Ricard, and Claudio Demiro as our head judge. Marion Reif and Anka Piper have their work cut out for them in this men's competition.
It's really hard to do that. Once you've come down off the handstand, you have to really regroup and say, okay, that was then. I need to focus on what I need to do. There he is, walking forwards. Also, you've got to be very careful not to overbalance and lean off to one side, and then you're actually leaning on and falling off the platform. So
it was
very scary.
The report is it was 37 kilometers per hour on that takeoff right there, the wind.
And as we said earlier, you do get gusts with more speeds. And that part of the dive is what Mikhail Navratil does so well. with plenty of experience. He doesn't panic at the end of the dive. He's got a good visual on everything. He sees the water. Also, you have to be quite aware of everything peripherally. So sometimes you use peripheral vision to look for markers on the cliff face, perhaps the scuba divers in the water. So with more time, you get more calm in those moments at the end of the dive.
Look at that, 9s. Wow. So Mikhail Navratil in his 79th career start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. It'll be cool on Sunday when we come back to Polignano Mare for his 80th career start. But this guy is so consistent and dynamic. 274. When he rounds that up, Navratil will move into second place and push Owen Weymouth to third. So Catalin Peretta of Romania, 276.9, remains the leader. And always a smile on that guy's face, no matter the results. Great job on Mikhail Navratil. Now we go up to the youngster, 19-year-old Aiden Heslop, the youngest male diver competing today. Earned his first World Series 10s a couple of weeks, or 10 days ago in Ireland. That was cool.
Yeah, we're witnessing a very, very talented athlete. Keep an eye out for him. Oh, the 19-year-old demonstrating his prowess in the cliff diving scene. That was amazing.
Perfectly piercing through the water. And I know it's not all about the splash all the time, Joey, but today in particular, it just has so much more significance.
And his aerial awareness is just outstanding. Actually, he dove at the same pool as Tom Daly, but he's been watching the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series since he's around about 11 years of age, always practicing those feet-first entries, and he always dreamed of being a cliff diver in this World Series. And how about that? You set the plan into action, and there you are, 27 meters up, 3.5 twists, entering the pike position. And this kid just makes it look so easy. A reminder, he's only 19 years of age. He competed in the Commonwealth Games. He does actually want to compete in conventional diving. And this is the same dive that Gary Hunt performed, so his fellow British counterpart, but Gary now is, of course, representing France. But I know that Aiden Heslop idolizes Gary Hunt, performing the same dive as him. Great execution by the youngster. And look, with more time, he's going to be someone, let me tell you, someone to watch out for. Third place also in 2019 in Bilbao.
Big scores on that 124, rolling up to a 276. Wow, look at that, just shy of the lead over Catalin Peretta of Romania. That is a close result. So Peretta with 276.90, Heslop with 276.60. And Navratil not too far behind with that 274. And here is Constantine Popovich. Yeah, speaking of Mr. Consistent, Popovich, one of the best in the business. Right now, sitting number 2 overall in the World Series points behind Gary Hunt. Another arm stand dive. 44 kilometers per hour is the wind. You hear the waves, you hear the wind. Those new to cliff diving, Joey, what does that mean?
Not easy is what it means under these conditions. Look at that, he's so athletic, so much control. Constantine Popovich, determined and focused.
The awesome meter just went to the next level. Popovich drilling that one.
His attitude, he is so mentally strong. You can just see him on the platform, focused. He tries to not let the conditions affect him. He knows the job he's got to get done. And boy, oh boy, this man is someone that we've always got to keep an eye on. He is formidable. And Gary Hunt, be careful. Watch out.
He has to win. I mean, he really does have to win the last stop of the season, really, to get in there. And depending on what Gary Hunt's result is today, we'll give you
what
the
you wanna
numbers
do.
in a little bit, but you got to get into that top spot if you're going to want that King Kong-Keeley trophy over Gary Hunt. And hopefully Gary Hunt makes a couple slip-ups is what you're hoping to, but I doubt he will.
Constantine is so agile and so quick. So watch how he comes out of the twist, but the transition out of the twist and then into the pipe. Look how quick he gets in there. In real motion, it looks even faster, of course, but comes out early. Again, demonstrating that he's very strong and technically proficient. Not even proficient, brilliant. And holding the line through the water, and he will score very well for that dive because the takeoff was great, good form in the air, and a nice line through the water.
It was back here in 2019 where Costa fractured his foot. Remember that? During training, it actually happened, you know, walking along that dock right there.
Yeah, because it's all stones on either side. There's no sandbank, all rocks in there.
So if he's perhaps having a little deja vu as we look at Catalin Peretta, our leader at the moment. Or we,
I shouldn't be laughing because he's obviously going, I know what happened last time. I need to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, those you mentioned earlier, there's no sandy beach to land on when you fall into the water. Lots of heavy-duty rocks.
It's a bit of a shame because normally it's actually quite calm here, so we just got a little unlucky.
Well, with that huge DD, 132.60 on his third and final dive, rolling that up to 286.80. So Popovich, the Romanian shark, along with his countrymate Preda, 1 and 2 right now. Popovich in the lead with 3 remaining in this men's third and final round.
Gotta love his reaction after the dive. First, you feel relief after the dive, and then elation after something like that with that execution.
So Popovich with 286 sets the pace. Preda and Heslop in third right now on the bubble. There are 3 to go in Nikita Fedotov. David Cultury having a great 2 rounds, putting him into second place behind Gary Hunt. So 3 more to go. Don't forget, reminder, follow us on social media, Red Bull Cliff Diving's Facebook page, and subscribe to Red Bull Cliff Diving YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram at Red Bull Cliff Diving. As we look at Nikita Fedotov, the top of the men's platform, 27 meters, 90 feet off the Adriatic Sea here on our Puglia stop. Second to the last stop of the season. We'll be back here Sunday as we look at Gary Hunt, just staying calm right there on the balcony, getting ready for his dive. Here's a guy who's made a huge impact as a wild card diver, Joey.
Third place in Bosnia this season. The Russians are always known to be great divers.
First time competing in Italy.
Nikita Fedotov, show of appreciation amongst all the athletes. Every single one of these athletes understands how difficult it is to be on that platform here today.
Popovich on the beach, he's so intense.
He is.
He's
waiting.
He's really for all, you know, he's great camaraderie and for everybody, but he just loves those points, man.
Yeah, he's going to be watching Gary with eagle eyes on his last dive. But right now,
shark eyes?
Yeah, but right now it's about Nikita Fedotov. As we said, he had a third place finish this year in Bosnia. Actually, twice he's placed third
twice,
over there.
back in 2017.
So we know he's capable of great things. He may have changed his dive just to be able to handle the conditions here today. So 2 twists at the beginning, and then the pike in the middle, and the Barani. So this is the interesting thing about the sport of cliff diving. You can change the combination. So some people might choose to actually do the somersault first at this particular dive. But here he's doing the twist. So you need to throw, and the arms will wrap across the body, twisting there, and watch how the arms will come out wide. They check, that stops the twist. Then you've got to come in there, there's a quick sneak peek of the water, and you come around at this point. So most of the training to do the complicated maneuvers is in the first 10 meters. So you go to the normal diving pool, you've got to practice those aerial awareness skills over and over. That's the biggest fear trace of all the divers, is losing their way in the air, and occasionally it does happen. So
well, we saw
practice makes perfect.
We saw at the Olympics with Simone Biles and you know what everyone dubbed as the twisties, right? I mean, that's really a fear for any athlete in acrobatics, period, right? In any acrobatic sport. As we await Fedotov and his score here in Polignano, Mare. We'll be back here again on Sunday for the grand finale. I'm Trace Worthington, sitting next to Joey Zuber, Red Bull Cliff Diving expert. And Thanks for hanging out with us so far. The women's competition has wrapped up with Rhiannon Ifland winning and winning another King Mccauley trophy. We'll celebrate that on Sunday as well. Right now, we're winding down this men's competition. Fedotov will wait his score. David Cultury of the United States, followed by Gary Hunt.
Okay, David Cultury will be coming up next, is looking for a great dive. Really wants to improve upon the performances.
So
Nikita Fedotov.
Fairly low scores at this point. Not being picky here, but 253.75 will not get him on the podium. So it's Popovich, Preda, and Heslop holding down the top 3 spots. Remember, not only on the line is this King Mccauley trophy, but spots for next year. 4 men will be invited as permanent divers. David Cultury now, it's all about him. Placed 5th at the last stop in Downpatrick Head, Ireland. Had a great comp there. 56th career start on the Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series. What's he have?
He's got a chance to get on the podium, but he does have to perform well. Back 3 somersaults with 3 twists in the pike position. If he wants the lead, got to get 9s across the board. A little overbalance, wind pushing him from behind. It's really hard when the wind comes behind onto your back and pushes you forward. As I said before, you've only got half your foot on the platform. That's a requirement to get the takeoff right. There's no problem to step back, take a moment, take a deep breath.
He knows he has a shot, Joey. I mean, after the first 2 rounds of diving, then everything changed. What normally, again, is a 4-round diving competition. So he's sitting in 2nd. And then if they had a 3rd or 4th round, it could be a difference one way or the other for Cultury. But right now, he's like, hey, if you're going to scratch the 4th round of diving and I'm sitting in 2nd, I have a shot at the top of the podium.
But also there's no room for errors whatsoever with only 3 rounds.
Look at that. The wind has picked up again for David Cultury, 50 kilometers per hour. Imagine that, 70 feet off the Adriatic. .31 miles per hour, that wind speed. Cultury coming in hot.
The master of the twist, David Cultury. Such a technician with that particular dive. Great twisting ability.
To pull in the lead, the score, the total score on that final dive, Joey, 123.60. This has to be a big score.
That it does. But he does look happy. He feels like it's a good dive. Do the judges feel like it's a good dive? That is the question remaining. They had that perfect angle from the side. Okay. He signals always to the sports director.
Greg Louganis?
Yep, to Greg Louganis, just to say, I just need a moment coming around for the last part of the dive. Oof. He'll be very, very nervous to look at the scores. Can he make the podium here? Look at how he sets. Presses nice and deep. The hands have to swing past the knees. You need to get the legs bent deep enough in order to jump high enough. Good extension from the platform. Comes from great technical background with his American coaches. Coming around for 2.5 twists. He's actually done a dive with an extra twist in the past, and he will come back to that in the future. See, he's got that heart rate monitor on. I'm really, really curious to see what the heart rate is before the dive and after the dive. Watch how the feet come flat there to make a hole through the water. David Cultury, very experienced athlete. Little fist bump into the camera there for Max. Eagerly awaiting. I'm nervous.
Max.
I want to see if he does well. Like he's been really putting a lot of pressure on himself to perform well here today.
Got to give Max props today, who's our underwater cameraman, and you know, he doesn't eat breakfast on these types of these days.
Yes.
We've seen it.
Just like being on a boat. Let me tell you, it ain't easy.
Like, why are you just having a coffee? He's like, you'll see why. All right. Waiting the score of David Cultury before we move on to Gary Hunt, who could wrap up the season right here. 105.80. That is not going to cut it, Mr. Zuber. 269 flat. So Cultury in a familiar position, 5th. So unfortunately off the podium for this second to the last stop.
Yeah, and that's that comes down to probably degree of difficulty as
Okay.
well with the other divers. Okay, you need good execution, but say Aidan Heslop, for example, had higher degree of difficulty. But coming down to one more diver.
No shocker, the Romanians are on the podium again for another weekend in 1 and 2 right now, guaranteed. But will Heslop be bumped off by Gary Hunt? The chances are very high with the consistency of a man who's the winner of the last 2 stops. He's going for the hat trick here in Puglia. And with this being the second to the last stop and each athlete getting to drop their worst results, he will most likely secure his 9th King Mccauley trophy.
And ladies and gents, there is the triple quad, the inventor, the master of that dive, the first person in the world to do it. Did it in Turkey at a Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series stop. But Gary Hunt, let me tell you, he is unstoppable. What a machine. Hasn't missed one single Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series competition in his career.
41 career victories on the Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series, 69 podiums, and this is his 83rd competition of his career. Hasn't missed a beat. It's getting better.
He is, and actually he's been training physically extremely hard with a strength and conditioning coach in Paris, and he's also making sure he's competing regularly in the sport of diving, so diving head first as well as cliff diving. So he lives, eats and breathes diving, and he knows that every year he has to work harder. A bit like Michael Jordan, he understood that no, I can never take my foot off the gas. So every year I need to identify things I need to work on. So Gary made sure he was incredibly strong in the pre-season training, doing that big strength block and then maintaining it through there, and also not being too heavy to make sure he's light enough to perform these incredibly difficult maneuvers. The triple quad, he's even been considering about even adding a twist to that, which would just be utterly impressive. Big kiss to the crowd. He's got to be relieved after that competition. It's always hard being the last person standing on the platform. There's so much pressure. You know, everybody's looking at you.
Well, make room for another King Mccauley trophy, similar to Rhiannon Ifland of Australia, who secured it on the women's side. Gary Hunt, greatness and dominance confirmed again, with those scores rolling up to 124.80, good enough to win this stop in Puglia with 297.60. Gary Hunt, the greatest of all time.
Just see that big, deep breath that he took. He was just like, oh, I've done it. And that's nice, coming into that last competition, knowing that you've sealed the deal. And as I said about Rhiannon, he can come into the last competition saying, okay, I can relax. And Constantine Popovich must be saying, man, what do I have to do? But Costa, trust me, he's actually got some dives that he's working on. He can step up the degree of difficulty. Watch out.
Gary Hunt does it again. So dominant. His 42nd career victory on the Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series. The Romanian Sharks, Popovich and Preda hanging tight. Wow, what an awesome event. And of course, Aidan Heslop, this kid, do not forget his name. He has been super consistent in the small amount of time and opportunities that he's had on the Red Bull Cliffdiving World Series. Darose, we'll see him on Sunday, hopefully, if he recoups from his small injury. And as we head down to the beach with David O'Queen, who's with our winner, Gary Hunt.
Gary, we heard Greg say it could be pot luck out there. However, you on the top of the podium doesn't seem like luck to me. How was it out there?
It's a struggle as always in these conditions, but Jackie kicked off the round and everyone else followed. That's it. We're all in the same boat. We all wanted to put on a show today, and yeah, to be on top of the podium, to get the victory, get the series victory, I'm over the moon.
And that's it. You said these Romanian Sharks are getting closer and closer today on the podium with you. What are you going to do for the last and final stop?
I'm not even going to think about it for at least a day. Give me 24 hours to just soak this in, and then we'll see what dives. I may play around with a couple of new things for the easier rounds, but you'll have to wait till next year for the big dive.
Amazing. Thank you, Gary.
Oh, a little tease there from Gary Hunt.
A little teaser.
Wow. I'm going to have to ask him. What have you got in store, huh? What are you thinking about? What are you stirring up there in your little cauldron? Wow. Suspect it may be something with the back twists, maybe 5 twists, who knows?
All right, well, again, what is normally, Rhiannon Ifland giving congratulations, what's normally is a 4-round event turned into 3. Joey, let's recap Gary Hunt's 3 rounds of incredible diving.
This is just exquisite. He is a cliff diving master, the master class. If you want to learn how to cliff dive, you go and talk to Gary Hunt, let me tell you. 9s across the board, smooth and stylish. I really like watching those required dives, where you do more simple dives, so less somersaults and twists. Just a double somersault here with a half twist. I say it's easy, but of course it's not. But let me tell you, the locals absolutely loved watching him dive from the balcony there. And here we have it, the winning dive. Just 3 rounds for this particular competition. Again, that was due to the fact, obviously, the wind and the waves were very, very, very strong to take a bit of pressure off the athletes. And there is the relieving moment. Little kiss goodbye after that competition. Great to see Catalan Preda making a comeback after his performance in Ireland. I know he was disappointed by that. Big smiles. That's what he wants to build his confidence.
I just love seeing the progression now. You know, we had a really shorter season because of obvious reasons. You know, Joey kind of crammed into a few month period of time. Next year is going to be bigger. And I'll tell you what, you're going to see a lot of different dives next year. Looking forward to that for sure. Especially with Gary. And Gary's feels like he has the goods and he still has the strength and the mental strength. Obviously, clearly he has that. So it's going to be fun to watch.
So I definitely want to go to all the training camps before the season starts to see what these divers are going to throw down. But I dare say we're going to see records broken next year. Here is Gary Hunt, another first place finish.
There's 1 stop left in this 2021 season. It's the grand finale, the penultimate stop of the World Series. And the divers don't have to go too far. It all goes down right here in Polignano, Mare on Sunday. So same stunning location, much different level of pressure for the divers. We've settled who will win the King Mccauley trophies in Gary Hunt and Rhiannon Ifland, but who will earn permanent diver positions next year? It's the top 4 men and top 4 women in the overall points. We'll find that out on Sunday. Now for the men, it's the top 3 because Johnny Paredes, the great Mexican diver, has already secured and taken one of those spots because of an injury clause.
That's right, yeah.
And so he earns one of those, and deservingly so. Gary Hunt, another win and another victory, and a hat trick, by the way, winning the last 3 stops with 76 or 760 points total, and winning the King Mccauley trophy. We'll celebrate that on Sunday. Constantine Popovich and the Romanian powerhouse Preda, 2 and 3. Dorose in 4th in the standings. Not too bad for a guy who didn't dive today. So there you see all of the rest of the competitors doing a wonderful job in this men's competition from Puglia. So once again, same stunning location for the 2022 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series Grand Finale and the presentation of the King Mccauley trophies right here in Polignano, Mare. Again, we are live on Red Bull TV and the Red Bull Cliff Diving Facebook or YouTube channel for all the action. And Joey, this has been a phenomenal event and a rough one for the athletes, challenging, but they pulled through it. In the meantime, today's Puglia stop is a wrap, and as always, a great job. Well done by our entire crew and team behind the scenes. Ciao for now. Looking forward to seeing you all again on Sunday for that grand finale. On behalf of David O'Queeve and Joey Zuber, I'm Trace Worthington. Thank you for watching the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. So long from Italy, everyone. See you on Sunday.